How you doing, guys? So the big video I'm working on will be done soon. I have to redo the recording and editing. I needed to delete it because there was no other way, so I'm hoping for it to be out next weekend. Anyways, please tell me if you like the photoshopping for certain scenes, and please like this video and subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Thank you for doing any of those things. Vader felt a huge disturbance in the Force. The two most powerful Force users in the galaxy were now gone. Nothing could stop him, except Obi-Wan, who he had to find. Vader pondered over what to do next. He found the Grand Inquisitor and began to train him as his apprentice. The production of the Death Star would end for the time being. Vader thought it was no real use. Vader spent much more efforts increasing the strength of the Empire, from more Star Destroyers to better trained stormtroopers. He ruled with fear and was even more hated than Palpatine. His training with the Grand Inquisitor would be intense and grueling, and daily he would send him to kill any threats to the Empire as Vader hunted down the last few Jedi, especially the most elusive of them all. Obi-Wan is grieving over the loss of his last friend. The Force ghost of Yoda came to visit him and to tell him, "Always be with you, I will. Need you now more than ever," Luke does. After realizing Yoda's words were as true as could be, Obi-Wan visits the Lars homestead and tells Owen that he needs to train Luke now more than ever, as Luke was actively being searched for by Vader, the new Emperor, and the most powerful being in the galaxy. And Obi further explained that for the safety of Luke and the galaxy, it was imperative that he would be trained. Owen then decided that Luke would need to train. Luke would go with Obi-Wan to Ahch-To at Yoda's orders, as nobody knew where it was. They would train every day for most of the day. Luke would be put to the test every day for years. Maul never finds Obi-Wan, as Ahch-To is unfindable. Vader himself searches every planet. He suspects Kenobi could be on Tatooine. Eventually, he goes to Tatooine and finds Obi-Wan's abandoned old home, stripped of most of its belongings. He knows he was here. Where could he have gone? He could stay on the planet for a while to scour any possible area he could be, but ends up leaving after realizing he's not there. Over the years, a great amount of rebels amassed, even greater than in the original timeline. It's the time of A New Hope. Luke goes to Tatooine to visit his aunt and uncle. Obi-Wan accompanies him. At this time, Bail sends Leia to ask Ben for help. She ends up at the Lars homestead and meets its residents, who are ecstatic to see her, and she doesn't understand why. The Lars family would move to Alderaan, so they wouldn't be at risk on Tatooine. To avoid more Imperial entanglement, they need a good ship, so they hire the famed smugglers Han Solo and Chewbacca. They would all meet up with the rebellion, but the rumors of the Death Star might take longer to spread. But the plans would be much easier to obtain, as the station would be an afterthought of Vader. This would be the first big move of the rebellion. Maybe a year or so after A New Hope, they locate the Death Star, which would have a very small crew. They would have a full-scale assault, with Luke and Han leading it. Almost every rebel would survive, and it wouldn't be a difficult fight, like in the original timeline. Luke would still make the bullseye and be the hero, and receive his medal. So would Han and Chewie. Chewie would convince Han to stay, as he always hated the Empire, and now they could at least help end the tyranny and authoritarianism of Vader and his Empire. The rebellion would be stronger than ever. It is the time of The Empire Strikes Back. The rebellion is the strongest it's ever been. They are very well spread out across the galaxy, and have the support of Alderaan and many other systems now. But the Empire has arrived on Yavin. Vader's Star Destroyer is waiting in the sky above. The TIE Fighter of Darth Vader and the Fighter of the Grand Inquisitor would be leading hundreds of transports to the surface of Yavin. Vader wanted Kenobi. He didn't want to blow them up from the sky. No, he wanted this to be a message to the galaxy that he personally would destroy those who oppose him. They land. Vader and the Grand Inquisitor slowly walk towards the base. Thousands of stormtroopers following them. As rebels are shooting down stormtroopers, Vader enters. Obi-Wan and Luke are ready to fight him as the Grand Inquisitor walks in. Handle the boy, Kenobi is all mine. Vader crushed parts of a stone wall, throwing it at Obi-Wan, who dispersed the rocks easily. Obi knew he had to get out of there, so he had to do something quick. He ignited his blade, spinning it all around himself in a show that his skill had not faded. Vader thought that Obi always was a bit of a showboat. Then suddenly, he crushed the roof above them as it landed on Vader. He and Luke, in unison, force-pushed the Grand Inquisitor. The rebels all evacuated, picking off many of the troopers down below. Han, Chewie, Leia, and Obi-Wan, as well as Luke, 3PO, and R2 all escaped in the Falcon. A little after most of the rebels escaped, Vader would leave the base, and together with the Grand Inquisitor would use the Force to collapse the whole fortress, bricks smashing into one another, dirt and debris and dust settling across the area like a strong cold breeze. Then Darth Vader would have an emergency meeting with the highest ranking Imperial personnel. He would order the Grand Inquisitor to hunt down Luke Skywalker, but to not kill Kenobi, and he would tell him that if he couldn't find Luke, to find his friends and to capture them. The Grand Inquisitor would leave to begin his hunt. Vader would say, "Everyone leave." As Tarkin would get up, Vader would say, "Not you." Tarkin would sit back down. "You were right about the Death Star. With the rebellion becoming stronger and more widespread and dense in those areas, we will need it. I will need you to be in charge of its creation. Then we will extinguish the spark of rebellion once and for all. Don't you think I should be a leader in our war efforts instead, Your Highness? No, you will do as I command. I will lead our war efforts, and once the second Death Star is ready, you will help me end this war." "Very well, my lord." Obi-Wan and Luke would stay on the Falcon, as Obi-Wan would want to keep Luke and Leia safe. Luke would progress in his training and focus on polishing his techniques and controlling his emotions. Around this time, he would tell Luke that he was Leia's brother to prevent things from escalating. Luke would ask more questions, and so would Leia, but Obi would answer them with caution, telling them about Padme and Anakin, but only things they were ready to hear, not the truth of what happened to Anakin or how their mother really died. They would eventually get to Cloud City. Obi and Luke would be suspicious of Lando, but Luke would trust Han's judgment. However, Obi-Wan would, not entirely at least. Then one day they would be led to a dinner, and Lando would say, "I've just made a deal to ensure the Empire will not interfere with our affairs." Obi would force push him against a wall and say, "What did you do?" As the doors open, revealing Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor. "Fight Skywalker, test his abilities, then capture him and leave his friends here," Vader said. The Grand Inquisitor tried to rush toward Luke, but he was frozen in place by Obi-Wan and thrown through a wall. "Go, Luke, run, escape with your friends. I will hold them off." Obi-Wan threw many chairs at Vader, and while he was distracted, he then force-pushed him through a window. Vader held on with one hand and pulled himself toward the window, quickly jumping through legs first. He would use Force Crush to split the table in half, then move it in the way of the window to control the vacuum of the atmosphere. Luke and the others make short work of the stormtroopers due to Luke's speed and accuracy at blaster deflection, being far too much for them. Vader would ignite his saber, as the Grand Inquisitor would ignite his. "Go capture Skywalker. I will not ask again. And do not let this old man get in the way." "Yes, my master." The Grand Inquisitor would jump towards the door, but Obi would stand in his way. Obi-Wan would immediately go on the offensive, with more ferocity than he had ever used before, slamming his blade into the Grand Inquisitors. He was powering through his defenses. Vader tried to walk through the door, but Obi jumped in front of him. "Very well then, you've made your choice." Vader and the Grand Inquisitor would fight Obi-Wan in unison, putting him on the back pedal through the holes of the area. Obi would block as much as he could, but he was rapidly tiring. Vader would knock Obi into a wall with a kick and look at the Grand Inquisitor, who ran with astonishing speed and agility. Luke and the others would be trying to escape, when in their way was Lando, who would stop them and said, "You're going the wrong way. You could have made it out by now." "Some friend you are. You sold us out," Han said. "Look, arguing won't fix anything. Vader and his apprentice are coming after us, and we need all the help we can get, and we've got to get out of here now," Luke said. Just before they get to the landing platform, Luke would turn around and say, "Everybody watch out." The Grand Inquisitor, jumping through the air, slammed his blade into Luke's, which he ignited just in time to block his opponent's life-threatening blow. Luke began to barely block the Inquisitor's blow just before he was hit. He was so distraught and taken aback, he was just out of the fight. The Grand Inquisitor would spin his blade in a hurricane of red. Luke thought about his friends and Ben. Then he sprung and attempted to impale the more experienced fighter, whose blade pushed his down, while his other blade took his right hand permanently away from the arm it belonged to. Luke fell over, defeated. Your master cannot save you now. Only your new master, Lord Vader, can help you learn the ways of the dark side. When this pitiful rebellion is over, he will be the last person you have left. The Grand Inquisitor would move to capture Luke. When Obi-Wan force-pushed the Inquisitor 40 feet, they both ran to the ship and left, just as Darth Vader walked onto the ramp with his voice box sliced in two. Vader force-choked the Grand Inquisitor, and with a slightly raspy voice said, "If I didn't need you for my plan, I would kill you right now." The Grand Inquisitor grasped at his throat and panicked. His fear had an unbreakable grasp on him. Vader pulled the Grand Inquisitor towards himself. They were eye to eye. "My new apprentice will never make such foolish mistakes." Vader drops him and walks back to the facility. Obi-Wan Luke said. What is it, my friend? Obi replied. Why did the Grand Inquisitor say Vader is the last person I have left? Because, Luke, Vader wants to turn you to the dark side. Of course he does. But why did I have a connection with him like I have with Leia? I had this connection with Leia because she's my sister. So then that must mean Vader is my father. You lied. Why? When I knew your father, he was a great man. He was kind and loyal and a happy person to be around. When the Emperor seduced him to the dark side of the Force, the good man that was your father ceased to exist. So what I told you was true from a certain point of view. Luke looked down and walked away. Luke, come back here, said Obi, but it was to no use. He had left. So that is it for part 2. Part 3 will be coming eventually. Tell me what you think about this video in the comments down below. Next what if will be what if Anakin died in the temple part 2. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed and I'll see you guys later. Bye.